ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. My dear friends, Namaskar. I am starting making video on Panchadasi, a very important book of Advaita Vedanta. In the first video, I will just give the review, or you can say what is there in different chapters, just introduction, you can say. So I start the first video with introduction of Panchadasi. An interpretive exposition of the teachings of the Panchadasi in its 15 chapters will be found in the sequel. Here I shall attempt to give a short summary of the teaching. The basic skill that the disciple should develop in himself is the ability to discriminate the real from the non-real. The Panchadasi indicates the various methods by means of which the discrimination could be gained. One of the most useful methods is the analysis of the three states of experience, which waking, dream and deep sleep. As a result of such analysis, one realizes that the self persists in all the states while the objects vary and are inconstant. The same conclusion may be reached by an investigation into the five seats koshas that cover the self, as it were. The principle which is applied in this investigation is what is grosser and more external and less pervasive is less real than what is subtler and more internal and more pervasive. Applying this principle, one arrives at the truth that the self is supremely real because it is the subject and the inmost being which is non-dual, just as the individual soul and its states could be analyzed with a view to discovering the self. The external objective world would also be analyzed with the same end in view. Beginning with the grossest element, earth, we have progressively subtler elements, water, fire, air, and ether. But the self is subtler than ether. One may think of the self without ether, but not of ether without the self. One may deny anything but not the self. To doubt the existence of the self is as ridiculous as the doubt expressed by a man, have I a tongue or not? The self is of the nature of pure consciousness. It is unfailing light, ever present awareness. This is explained by means of apt analogies, like the anvil in the smith's shop, which serves as the basis of beating the metal into various shapes without itself changing. The self remaining as the immutable witness of changes in the physical and the psychical order. Hence, it is called the Kutastha. See chapter 8. Just as the lamp set on a dramatic stage shades light on all concerned during the performance and shines also after everyone has left the theatre, even so, the witness consciousness manifests all things with the egoity, the intellect, and the objects, and continue to shine even when they are non existent, just as the lamp on the stage illumines without moving and without being affected by the movements of the actors and the audience. Even so, the witness which is eternal and immutable, manifest all things both within and without, and their absence too, just as the canvas is the whereupon the various painted figures appear, both of inanimate things like mountains and animate things like man and animal, so also on the consciousness, which is the immutable self, the variegated world appears. The bliss nature of the self Brahma is explained in great detail in the last five chapters. The self is not only existence and consciousness, it is also bliss, the supreme value. The teaching of Yajnavalkya to Maitreyi in the Brihadaranyaka constitute the basis for understanding the bliss nature of the self. The core of the teaching is that the self is the seat of supreme love. Anything becomes dear not for its own sake but for the sake of the self. There are, it is true, different notions of selfhood, thereof which may be distinguished: the secondary self, the illusory self, and the principal self. When a parent identifies itself with his son, for instance, the selfhood of the son in relation to the parent is secondary. The identification of the self with the body, etc., is illusory. The principal self is the unconditioned non-dual reality. It is the self in the principal sense, that is of the very essence of bliss or love. But even when the self in the other two senses is loved, it is because of the mistaken or wrong identification with the true self. Thus, it is easy to see that the self, whatever be the conception thereof, is the center and seat of love. If there be love for any other object, it is for the sake of the self to which that is subsidiary. It is a reflection of the bliss that is the self, that is experienced as happiness or pleasure in the objects. A right understanding of the happiness that is derived from the con- contact of the mind with the objects may serve as the door to the bliss, that is Brahma. When an object is being enjoyed, the mind turns inward and becomes calm. In that state of mind, the bliss, that is self, is reflected. It is this which is experienced as a happiness or pleasure. The Brahma bliss, or a reflection of it, is experienced in other states also. In deep sleep, one experiences unqualified bliss. Only that experience lies under the cover of nescience, just because falling into deep sleep and immediately for a few moments after getting up from sleep, one has a taste of happiness prospectively or retrospectively. In the interval between two modes of mind also, one experiences the reflection of bliss. The yogi enjoys bliss in samadhi, the jnani realizes directly the bliss, that is the self. The bliss, that is the self Brahma, is unexcellable and unconditioned. A calculus of bliss is given in the Upanishads, starting with the unit measure of human bliss. The higher levels are reached by multiplying each lower level of bliss by 100. One may thus go up to the bliss of the Creator Brahma, but Brahma bliss is beyond all calculations, and the wise one's experience of the plenary bliss admits of no degree. Having achieved all that was to be achieved and having done all that was to be done, the illumined one rests in perfect contentment and peace. The nature of Brahma, that is the self, is, as we have seen, existence, Sat, consciousness, Chit, and bliss, Ananda. And also Existence, consciousness, and bliss are not parts of Brahma or its attributes, they constitute its essential nature, Swarupa. They are not three separate constituents. Existence is consciousness, and consciousness is bliss. It is because the world of plurality is characterized by impermanence, inertness, and disvalue that in order to distinguish the non-dual Brahma from the world that Brahma is said to be existence, consciousness and bliss. In Brahma's essential nature, however, there is no split and no distinction. Brahma is free from any of the three kinds of differences, Sajatiya, Vijatiya and Swagata. How does it happen that the once reality appears as the world of plurality? The Vedanta formulates the concept of Maya precisely to show that no satisfactory answer can be given to this vexatious questions since causation itself is unintelligible. There are three standpoints from which Maya may be envisaged, says Bharati Tirtha Vidyarne. Number one, the standpoint of revealed experience, Srota. Number two, that of the reasoning, Yoktika. And third, the ordinary man of the world, Laukika. From the standpoint of the ordinary worldly man, Maya is real, Vastavi. They have no reason to doubt its reality. From the standpoint of those who have realized the teaching of Scripture, Maya is unreal, Tcha. For them, there is no world to be accounted for. Maya is that Ya, which is not Ma. And for those who seek to understand through reasoning, Maya is indeterminable, anirvachaniya. From the standpoint of reasoning, Maya is uncharacterizable either as real or as unreal or as both real and unreal. The world of plurality appear in Burma on account of Maya even as a snake appears in what is rope. This is known as Vivarta transfiguration. There is no use asking questions about Maya. The more we question, the deeper will the mystery become. Maya is that which makes apparently possible what is inherently impossible. Wonder is Maya's garment, inscrutable is its nature. What is necessary is that we should endeavor to transcend Maya, and in this endeavor, the world of plurality in which we as empirical individuals live can be a help instead of serving as an obstacle. The Jiva is non-dual self appearing in a limited or conditioned form on account of nescience. In what manner is the appearance of the Jiva to be understood? Bharati Tirtha Vidyarne, who follows mainly the Vivarna tradition, teaches a modified form of the reflection theory or Patti Bhimba Vada, which is referred to as Abhasa Vada, while the Vivarna view regards the reflection as real and as identical with the prototype. The theory sponsored in the Panchadasi holds that the reflection abhasa is a mere appearance and illusory manifestation. The opposition between the Jiva and Brahma, according to this view, is through sublation, badha, and not through identification, akya. The direct means to release Advaita holds is the path of knowledge, jnana, as moksha is the very nature of the self. It is not an experience which is to be brought about through works. The path of knowledge consists of hearing, study, sarvana, reflection, manana, and meditation, nididhyasana. What is the immediate instrument of release? Is it sarvana of the Mahavakya that thou art, or is it continued meditation, also called Parsamkhyana? Parsamkhyana. According to the Bhamati view, verbal testimony, Shabda, of which the Mahavakyas form part, can yield only mediate knowledge and not immediate or direct knowledge. If the mediate knowledge gained from verbal testimony is to be transformed into immediate experience, there should be continued meditation till this is achieved, and this is possible because the mind, which is the instrument in meditation, is a sense organ, Indriya. The Vivarna view maintains that the mind is not a sense organ, it is an auxiliary to all paramanas, and that verbal testimony can yield immediate knowledge if the object is immediate. To illustrate this point, the story of the 10 travelers is given. And there is no object more immediate than the self. Hence, the Mahavakya that thou art imparts to the competent hearer the direct experience of the non-dual self. Giving a citation from the Vyakriti Bharti Tirtha Vidyarni says the major texts are for the sake of imparting direct knowledge of Dharma. In regard to it, there is no room for doubt. Meditation, however, is not without its great use. In chapter 9, Dhyana Deepa Bharti Tirtha Vidyarne compares it to Sambadi Dharma. Samvadi Bharma, delusion which culminates in a fruitful result. The man who mistakes the lamp light for a gem and gets to the place whence the light comes gains nothing, whereas the person who mistakes the light of the gem for the gem itself obtains the precious stone. Although both are cases of delusion, the latter is a fruitful one. When the attributeless Dharma is meditated upon, the content of meditation is not itself Dharma, but the contemplation leads to Brahma realization. Thus, for those who are not qualified for gaining true knowledge through inquiry, Bharti Tirtha Vidyarne recommends the yoga of meditation dhyana. In more than one place in the Panchadasi, the state of Brahma realization is described in glowing terms, and the incomparable happiness of the Jivan Mukta is praised. It is only for the standpoint of unreleased that the continuance of the body of the Jivan Mukta is explained as due to the residue of Prarabdha Karma, which is responsible for his present body and illumination, such as the continued rotation of the potter's wheel for a time even after the propelling rod has been removed or offered. In truth, however, the mukta has no body and there are no grades of mukti. In the Panchadasi, Bharti Tirtha Vidyarane reveals himself as a right not only with the great philosophical insight but also with equally great literary skill. The Panchadasi is not only a veritable mine of Vedantic treasure but is also a work with poetic charm that delights the reader. No wonder it is one of the most favored texts and has found a permanent place among the Advaita classics. And Bharti Tirtha Vidyarne, its author, takes his rank with the best perceptor of the Advaita after Sankara. His contribution to Advaita is immense as it is abiding. So this video is all about just introduction to Panchadasi. The actual text of this Panchadasi will be starting in video 2. So thanks my dear friend for watching this video. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe my channel. Thanks a lot. Namaskar my dear friends. Namaskar. Mhm.